Hello everyone! Yesterday I watched one of the legendary movies of my childhood, Terminator 2. As you remember, there is a scene where John Connor and his friend Tim, after stealing easy money from an ATM, go to spend them to the local arcade. The first time I watched this movie was shortly after its release, in 1991. That time, me and my fellows were so impressed with all these cool video games. All we played then, the electronic game No Pogodi, mechanic game machines and simple computer games, faded at once next to the beautiful and realistic arcade action, which was shown in the movie. But nowadays, these video games look so vintage. So I decided to dedicate another episode of Arcade Man to a review of those cool video games played by John Connor and his pals. The stage in the game room opens with John's intense duel with some military game. The fans of the Golden Series Atari will easily recognize it.
Missile Command!
The plot of the game is simple. You have 6 towns that the enemy continuously attacks with ballistic missiles. You are the commander of missile defense, which has 3 missile batteries. By moving the site across the sky, you launch anti-missiles from one of the 3 missile launchers. When the anti-missile explodes, it forms a large dome of fire. In its area, all the enemy warheads are destroyed, but the number of anti-missiles is limited. There are only 10 of them in each battery, so you need to spend them wisely.
This is Atari Missile Command. Millions of people are mad for it in thousands of game centers across the country. Interplanetary war is heck.
Compared to the rest of the machines in the gaming room, Missile Command looks a bit old-fashioned. After all, it was released back in 1980, but look how passionately John plays it. Seems it remained popular even in the 90s. Meanwhile, the kids tell T-1000 they saw John at the gallery. And the fake cop, which is actually a liquid robot, has stayed there. John loses and Tim leaves him, going to change some coins. At this moment, behind their backs, we see 2 machines at once. Hit the Eyes and Rampage. Here is a hockey game from 1990, with a funny cartoonish gameplay and the elements of fighting. And just like in a fighting game, at the beginning we choose our characters. Each of them has its own unique style. It's interesting, one of them is called Ivan Yakashev, which is a reference to Alexander Yakushev, a Soviet hockey player, participant of the Super Series USSR Canada in 1972.
Александр Якушев, спартаковец, 15 номер.
The teams are simply called Red and Blue. Each of them has only 3 players, attacker, defender and goalkeeper. Up to 4 people could play this game at once, 2 in each team. You've got to shoot as many pucks as possible into the opponent's goal over 3 5-minute periods. All means are good for this. Opponents can be pushed, beaten with an elbow and a fist, knocked down and even kicked in the nuts. Fights aren't punished in any way. In the locker room, players can buy energy drinks. The advert promises: skate faster, shoot harder, it really works. With a drink, for the next minute, the player gets super strength and super speed. Each player has a signature super hit that literally throws the goalkeeper into the net, which counts as a goal.
You're the best! You're the best!
The plot of this midway game reminds me of King Kong. Here we also have a giant gorilla climbing the buildings, which is fired upon by helicopters and the National Guard. But if King Kong was a gorilla from birth, the Rampage characters used to be people, victims of an unsuccessful experiment, during which George turned into a gorilla, Lizzie into a lizard, and Ralph into a werewolf. Angry at all mankind, they rush to destroy everything around. The goal of the game is to destroy the buildings, located in different cities of America. You need to climb their walls, inflicting damage on them with your mighty fist, breaking windows and concrete walls until the building collapses, turned into a pile of dust. However, soldiers, tanks and helicopters will constantly bother you with bullets, which reduces your health. You can make it up by eating tasty soldiers and civilians. Protein makes wonders. When your health ends, the character does not die, but turns into an ordinary naked person, which reminds me of Hulk. The liquid robot is approaching the game in all. In the windows, we see his tense face. Meanwhile, the screens of 3 new arcades are going by in the foreground. The first of them is some odd-looking field with circles. The second one is a scene from some kind of basketball game. The last screen is the least visible, but we can read a video void. I wasn't able to identify these games on the go, so we will just forget about them for a while. T-1000 enters the arcade and approached the little girls. He showed them a Jones picture, but they say they don't know him. Meanwhile, the camera shows us the name of the game they just lost. It's a Trog. The name of the game Trog is an abbreviation of Troglodyte, which is a caveman. The game takes place in the prehistoric world of Og, inhabited by dinosaurs and wild cyclops Trogs. Trogs live in underground caves, from where they run out to hunt on dinosaur eggs. Our task: to collect eggs, avoiding Trogs and other obstacles.
¿Qué pasa con la Lola? ¿Qué pasa con la Lola?
For its time, the game had advanced graphics with pseudo 3D sprites. Like Pac-Man, it belongs to the maze chase genre, with eggs instead of pallets. But unlike Pac-Man, dinosaurs can fight back against Cyclops. Unfortunately, this doesn't always help, and having killed the dinosaur, Trogs eat it. Just a great game for little children. Labyrinths of the Og world are full of all kinds of bonuses. For example, a red flower increases the speed of a dinosaur, the golden horseshoe grants temporary invincibility, the ice cube briefly freezes enemies. Pineapple turns us into a T-Rex, capable of eating Trogs. Next we see John again, who is sitting in a rotating cockpit, operating some kind of a flight simulator. In my childhood, the mech side of this game was breathtaking. Identifying the machine is quite simple. Its name is written on the back of the chair. It's Afterburner by Sega. It was not just a realistic flight simulator, but a full-size rotating cockpit with a chair and control unit. In the early 90s, this game seemed to me some kind of miracle of technology. Here in Russia, I couldn't even dream of playing it. The plot of the game is simple. You are an F-14 fighter pilot, which must destroy enemy interceptors, dodging shots and avoiding hitting the ground. On the control unit, there are buttons Vulcan gun and missile. The number of missiles is limited. Probably today the graphics of the game may seem poor, however, in the era of 8-bit consoles it seemed unusually realistic. No doubt, this is the coolest machine in the arcade. But why there is no line for it? The answer is simple. While playing a regular arcade machine costed 25 cents, it costed 5 times as much to play Afterburner with a cockpit. Among the children who came to play, only John Connor could afford it with his bundle of easy money. Now Tim appears on the way of T-1000. He also shows him a Jones picture, but you can't fool Tim. He knows better than to stay away from police, especially if you just rob the ATM. He makes poker face and pretends to see John for the first time in his life. At this moment, we can see behind him the name of the first unknown machine. This is Arch Rivals by Midway. This game is a lot like Hit the Ice. Only here we have a basketball match. Before the game, you can choose a team, and the choice is quite big. Each team has only 2 people. The match consists of 4 quarters, 4 minutes each. The player's task is to score as many goals as possible to the opponent. Just like in Hit the Ice, in Arch Rivals, you're allowed to hit opponents, taking the ball away from them. But beside the players of the enemy team, you can sleep on cans and papers thrown by spectators on the field.
End of first half. More to come.
To the left of this machine, very blurry, there are letters A, R, C. A simple search leads us to the NARC and explains the screen with video void. The main characters of the NARC are commandos on the government service, Mark Force and Hitman. They go on a dangerous mission to fight bandits, drug addicts and drug offenders, to find and arrest Mr. Big, the head, in the truest sense of the word, of the underground drug cartel and the terrorist organization. Besides killing bandits, you can arrest them, which is kind of nice. But still, for its time, this game was one of the most violent. Killed enemies, scattered pieces of burnt meat. Yes, this game was so not for the faint of heart parents. Another disturbing thing is drug packages, which the characters take away from the bandits.
Knock, the arcade smash for your Nintendo Entertainment System. Knock, with simultaneous 2-player action. Knock, your Max Force taking on Mr. Big and busting his criminal empire. Knock from Acclaim. No one had the guts until now.
For the late 80s, the arcade version featured realistic and atmospheric graphics, allowing you to immerse yourself in the gangster city. Its streets, buildings, even the subway. But as you advance, more and more enemies grow on your way, continuously pouring bullets on you, what makes survival on your own practically impossible. To move on, the game constantly forces you to throw more and more new coins into the machine. Brilliant! Tim rushed to John to warn him. And just for a second, a blue wall of some machine with the inscription "Live to Riot" shows up on the screen. Its handle tells us it's not an arcade, but a pinball machine. And the search by slogan leads us to this poster. On the poster, you can read the end of the phrase, "Right to live." So the complete slogan sounds like this.
Live to ride, ride to live.
The game simulates riding the legendary Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Rock music, the roar of the engine, the sounds of a helicopter, and someone's voice on the radio.
Over. Spotted leaving New York City. Over.
This is a real race to the bottom.
Hey, mister. Got a name?
Harley.
Harley Davidson.
Tim finds John and tells there's a cop looking for him. John picks up the friend's shoulder and sees T-1000 as a police officer. At this moment, we see the name of the last unknown arcade. There is just the word High, but it's enough to restore its full title – High Impact Football. This is already the third sports game in our episode. However, its gameplay is quite different from the previous two. Before the beginning, you are given a choice of 15 teams. There are some large American cities, as well as Europe, Africa and Canada. The game takes place on a standard field with an oval ball, common to American football. The screen with circles we saw before was the menu for choosing defensive formations, an important part of American football. If in hockey and basketball games the most important thing was to push away the opponents, take the ball away and score a goal, this game comes down to choosing the right strategy. In order to succeed, you need to understand the rules of American football. On the right, we see another afterburner machine, but in a vertical design. This is so-called upright version, the same game, but without the cockpit. So it was cheaper to play. Also, here we see some arcade cabinet with the Williams logo. Knowledge of the company narrows the circle of searches and brings us to the game Smash TV. This story takes place in the distant future, 1999. Weather-ratings obsessed TV producers made an incredibly violent show. The participants must make their way to fame and fortune, killing their enemies in front of TV cams. A real labyrinth of TV studios opens in front of us. In each of them, lots of enemies are ready to smash us with a bunch of different weapons. However, the show is generous, giving the player valuable prizes as well as all kinds of weapons that helps mowing down the biomass in front of us. The farther you manage to go, the more stuff happens on the screen. That's because the developers of Smash TV were the creators of the Robotron 2084, built on a similar principle. The final part of each level is a long fight with bosses, which, I must admit, designed very well. Another strong side of the game is sound effects, including the host remarks.
Big money! Big prizes! I love it!
Who, as you already guessed, will be the final boss.
Good luck! Total carnage!
According to some gamers, this game in the movie is a reference to Running Man, another film with Schwarzenegger where he participates in a similar survival show.
Killian, I'll be back.
T-1000 sees John and heads straight for him. John takes off, and by the door we see the last arcade machine. No wonder it doesn't work. Even for those times, the story takes place in 1995. This Space Invaders game was a real vintage. Despite the game is quite simple, it's credited with popularizing arcade games. Without it, the gaming industry would never have reached today's heights. Alien monsters are invading the Earth. Our goal is to stop them. We control the mobile laser gun at the bottom of the screen, systematically shooting aliens approaching from the sky. 4 bunkers cover us from them, but they are gradually destroyed from the shots. The aliens are arranged in 5 rows of 11 pieces each. but the more we kill them, the faster they move, which makes the gameplay more exciting. The destroyed wave of aliens is immediately replaced by a new one, even faster.
What it does is unleash a steady stream of alien forces who keep coming and coming, just like in the arcade, till it feels like a vice in your central nervous system while they fall down like two-legged hailstones. Oh, that hurt. Yeah.
According to James Cameron, the filming day in the arcade was the most favorite for young Eddie Furlan. The filming took a while, and the young actor could play video games for hours. Well, and our review is over. I was so ready to finish today's episode when suddenly my attention was attracted by another undefined arcade machine. Filmed from an angle, it wasn't very notable. I just wasn't paying attention at it. To identify it, I looked through hundreds of photos, but none of them looked similar enough. Realizing that I would not find it myself, I decided to ask for help on one of the largest gaming forums. There were thousands of people who, like John Connor, spent their childhood in the arcades. Overseas gamers quickly responded to my cry for help. They suggested many options: Bubble Bubble, Altered Beast, Satan Sallow. However, only the Gaplas or Gaplas really looked like that. To be honest, I had no idea about its existence. But as it turned out, it takes an important place in the Galaxian line, being a sequel to the 1981 Galaga. Here we also fighting against space flies. However, the developers have added many new things. For example, the game levels are called parsecs. And by catching power-up, you can drag several enemy ships to your side, forming out of them a fire battery. On the bonus level, turn points, you need to literally juggle enemy ships. In general, this is a very different game, but if you like Galaxian or Galaga, you may like Gaplast too. Well, and our review has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I wish you new records, and not only in video games.
Game over.